Good afternoon. Thank you for being here with us today. Today, we are excited to be partnering with Christina Lesher, the law office of Christina Lesher, and she's no stranger to Consolidated Planning Group. I know that we've done several webinars with you in the past, but today we're just doing just a quick highlight on Christina, her law firm, her practice of law, and how she serves our community. So, Christina, I understand that you do a lot of advice on estate planning, elder law, Medicaid, special needs planning, veterans planning. That's a lot, all in one. Tell us a little bit more about your practice.
So I started out thinking I was going to be a social worker, first of all. And so I really look at my advice and my counsel to clients really from that holistic approach. We understand that maybe what works best on paper, what makes sense financially, isn't necessarily what's best for that family or what is in line with their family values or what is workable for them. So our practice, we do all the things that you just mentioned. One of the things that my office also does is we have something that's called a care manager, and his name is Robert. And in the spirit of full disclosure, he is my younger brother. So we're really a brother and sister team that help families navigate through these issues. And sometimes clients, depending on where they are in their lives, maybe they need veterans benefits first, maybe they're Medicare first, and then maybe they have to transition over to Medicaid services. So that's why as an elder law attorney and special needs planning attorney, you need to know all these different areas of practice and also how it impacts families if they have a special needs child or a loved one with a disability.
Well, one thing you said, Christina, Care Navigator, and I think honestly, and by the way, full disclosure, we love Robert, so we're so glad that you have a Care Navigator.
Me too. Yeah,
and
great.
A lot of law offices don't have a Care Navigator. Tell us a little bit more about why a Care Navigator is important and what Robert's role really is at your firm.
So a few things I just want to brag about Rob. I am the big sister, and he worked for many, many years in the Hill Country area with individuals that have brain injuries plus some other type of diagnosis where it's an alcohol or drug or some type of mental health issue. So he had a lot of experience when he came to work at my office, and I've been begging him for years, please come and work with me. I know there's issues, there's problems at my office that my clients encounter that don't really need a legal response. And sometimes a legal response is the worst response. And an example of this, there are issues at nursing homes. Any nursing home, whether it's a Medicaid facility or a private pay facility, it's like any other big institution where people are working shifts. It's gonna have problems. And if you bring a lawyer, it gets everybody upset, even though I'm not that kind of lawyer. I'm like a planning, I love you lawyer. But the general public doesn't know that. But Robert can come in and really talk to the family, talk to the facility, because he can speak that same language. And we can usually come up with a win-win that enables that resident to be able to stay there or work out whatever problem that's going on at the moment. So that's really what his role is. The other thing he does is he helps families figure out where someone may live. He does a lot of housing and job support. We know that there's other organizations out there all over Texas that also does that, but we do that in line with the public benefit planning so that we make sure that people are eligible for whatever these programs are that they're interested in.
Christina, sometimes some families will come to us and they'll say, after me, I'm the end of the line. Can a Care Navigator, do they have the capacity to become a guardian of the person in the event that it's the end of the line and there's no additional family? Is that something that a Care Navigator in some cases can do?
Yeah, and Rob has served in that capacity. There are other individuals in the Harris County area, but to be very candid with everybody, this is an area that is really needing more individuals. I don't recall what the number is that they're exactly allowed to have, but I think it's over 100 private duty guardian, private duty wards a guardian can have, which is to me too many. But for Rob, I know he will take on maybe a couple at a time, depending on the circumstances. So it is very scary. But one of the things we do and work with families, if somebody has a candidate that may want to be the guardian and they're nervous or they feel like they need support, that's the other thing that Rob does, is he can provide some support to that family member or that cousin that otherwise may have been like, oh, I really love, my cousin or my sibling, but, my parents have done all this. And so what we do is I love my spreadsheets and my PowerPoint. So we do a PowerPoint on the things that the guardian has to do, the things that the guardian's charged with, and we try to delegate out those things that maybe the guardian is charged with that a care manager can do, and then the family member or the family friend stays the guardian. So that's sometimes we can
so kind of like just kind of organizing those steps so a person doesn't feel so overwhelmed. One thing I always like to make the kind of connect the dots for folks. A lot of times people are calling Consolidated Planning Group and they're saying, we need guardianship or we need a special needs trust. And I think there's a lot of confusion sometimes, Christina, on the role that you do as an attorney and the role that we do as a financial planner for special needs. And so I just want to make those lines clear. When it comes to planning for special needs, you need both people on the team, right? Someone like Christina, they're going to be able to put those legal documents together. We're talking about wills and healthcare power of attorney, HIPAA release, guardianship, special needs trust, other types of trust. That's not anything that we do. We don't do any of those things. We don't create any of those documents. We often refer to professionals, and we feel very, very strongly, Christina, that when you have a loved one with a disability, that your situation is specialized and you should truly work with a specialist when it comes to legal work, when it comes to financial work. It's so very, very important that they have money in the right buckets to preserve eligibility for state and federally funded programs. And what we've seen is that attorneys that dabble in special needs trust are often not drafted properly, and it could really cause problems for people. Have you seen some of that in your practice as well?
Yes, well, and there's kind of like three problems. Number one, there's a problem that causes an ineligibility for Social Security or Medicaid or some other type of means tested problem. The other problem is it makes the trust difficult to administer, meaning it may be overly restricted where it says, oh, you can't pay for food and shelter or clothing. And without going into the details, we all know that from a special or supplemental needs trust, you can pay for those items. So sometimes it just makes the trust administratively hard, unnecessarily difficult to provide distributions. And then the third category is it's missing language that allows the trust to be flexible. And we will put language in our trust called trust protectors that will allow the trust to change the term provisions so that if the child moves to a different state, if they need to make some type of other change that was within the grantor, and that's the person who set up the trust, within their intent, that they're able to do so without having to go to court to get a trust modified. You can go to trust and get a trust modified so that it fixes these three problems, but it is very expensive and you just don't want to have to do it. So that's why it's always good to go to a specialist. I kind of compare it to like if you need open heart surgery, you're not going to go to your general practitioner. You need to go to a specialist. And that is said for you too, where you're a specialized person. You understand the wants, the needs, the fears of the family, how these programs are funded, what they pay for, what they don't, so that you can give them all the money. And then I create the buckets for the money to go into.
Yeah, and I think part of it, like, on our side, we're nationally certified as Social Security advisors, and you talk about a 10,000-pound gorilla. You talk about really feeling overwhelmed when it comes to planning, as understanding these state and federally funded programs and how not to accidentally mess them up. We're very, very well versed in that, and I know you are too, Christina. I know that your firm has also been successful at getting crisis diversion slots for families, and that would be a crisis diversion slot for the HCS waiver, and that is no small feat in the state of Texas with a 17-year waiting list. So I think that these are things that are really important. So one thing that I want to say, Christina's pretty humble, so she's probably not going to like that I'm going to say this. But Christina's a major rock star. You should know. She has been voted multiple times as a super lawyer. I know I have listened to you multiple years at the UT Special Needs Planning Conference for attorneys. Attorneys come far and wide across the state for that conference, and I know that you've done a lot of past engagements with even the FBI, Marathon Oil, just to name a few. You've been around the block a long time, and we're so glad that you're here, and your practice is in the greater Houston area. You are able to help people across the state on their wills and their trusts and things like that. What counties do you cover for guardianship purposes?
So typically Harris County, Fort Bend, Brazoria, Harris County. I think if I'm missing one, Fort Bend, Brazoria. I think that's it. If the county will let us do guardianship work by Zoom, then we'll do the hearing. And I think most of the counties are letting me do the guardianship work by Zoom too. Yeah.
Gotcha. I know. Go ahead.
I was going to tell you. The other thing that we do that I'm very proud that my staff has done an amazing job, and I haven't even had a chance to tell you this, Allison. So part of the work that we do is when someone is on a waiver service at home and they need these services so they can live independently at the home. And as many families, and as you know, Medicaid is managed by insurance companies. We had a client who, when she was 16, she dove into a swimming pool. She became paraplegic from the neck down. She put herself through undergrad. She put herself through law school. She's a lawyer for the VA, and her insurance company was trying to cut her hours from 70 hours a week to 50 hours a week. And instead of just giving this young lady what she needed and what she deserved and what was documented, they hired a lawyer to represent the insurance company. It has been a battle since April, but we just got the news Wednesday that her benefits are reinstated. And it was the best Thanksgiving ever message I was able to tell my clients. And so I guess if someone's listening to this podcast and they have a loved one that has had a reduction in services, even if it's 2%, fight it every time. And if you can't get a private lawyer like me, go to Disability Rights Texas. They can help you, but always fight it, because over a series of years, that 2% is going to add up. So that was kind of my early holiday Christmas present, I guess. And it was great.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I love that so much. And so many families are getting letters from Health and Human Services that their Medicaid has been canceled. I mean, there is a big mess going on right now in the state of Texas with Medicaid issues and people losing Medicaid, which is a big issue because you have to be Medicaid eligible for your waiver. So if you've lost Medicaid, you're at risk of losing the waiver. So these are big things that our office and Christina's office can definitely help you. Tell us a little bit about, kind of what drives you in your passion. I know that you were very close with your grandfather, and he was near and dear to your heart. And I know that you have a family member with disabilities. So tell us a little bit more about what drives you.
Yeah. So initially, I went to social work school thinking I'd be a therapist. And then I realized I think I'm a little too bossy. So then I went to law school. And I was caring for my grandfather, who lived with my mother, and just going through all the things that he went through. He was on a Medicaid waiver program. And at the same time, I was working for an elder law attorney in Austin, and as kind of as a hybrid social worker, Medicaid application preparer, and ended up going to law school. My sister, who you and I are going to be on a panel with in just a few months, she
Exciting.
and I were, I'm this is my dream team, by the way. My sister and I were pregnant at the same time. I had a typical healthy baby, and she had a baby with a very rare genetic condition called Vader syndrome. We gave birth 26 days apart. She went first, I went second. And so as soon as my nephew was born, he was helicoptered over to Texas Children's. He's had multiple heart surgeries. He's had a G tube. He's had a trach. Good news is medically, he's more stable than he has ever been. And he is
Love
on
that.
a Medicaid waiver program called MDCP, Medically Dependent Children's Program. We did the one night Rider 28 stay in the nursing home to bypass these interest lists that we talk about. My sister is an amazing property tax expert, which sounds super boring to me, but evidently that's something that the universe needs. But it's raising my sons with my sister's son, James, has really inspired us to delve as deep into the children's Medicaid planning that we possibly can. And I do it not just for my own practice, but also so that for my sister. So if we have a reduction of benefits, which we've had, and we have had to go to a hearing to preserve his eligibility. So yeah, anytime you get a family member, especially if it's my nephew, yeah, we're ready to advocate. So yes, that is my inspiration, my passion.
And I love that. Sometimes I have to say I have to put a lid on my enthusiasm. The thing is this journey is tough. It's tough on a regular basis, just caring for a loved one with a disability, but then you throw in, SSI and Medicaid and Medicaid waivers and all of the battles and inlet holds and all of the stuff. It is a lot. And so one of the things that I love about your practice, and we try very much to do the same, is, making, special needs planning fun. It doesn't have to be a daunting experience. When you try to do it yourself, the DIY project, you feel overwhelmed, you feel, ill-equipped. And what happens, and if you've done this, you're not alone, you're going to do it, you have good intentions, and then you get it put on the shelf, and then you realize it's been months or it's been a year and you haven't revisited that. And so I think, your firm and our firm, what we do is we come together and we really just align those steps. Where are you? What have you already done? What do you already have in place? And we really just do a lot of listening about what's important to you and what you want for your loved one. And then we help you align those next steps. Most people can't do everything that they need to do all at once, but at least knowing what the steps are and what, one foot in front of the other needs to do to get to where you need to be, I think that is the key.
And the other thing I like to do is I want to know about the kid. Like, I want to know, do they like Legos? What's their thing? Do they like the Astros? And I really feel, and this, I don't know where this comes from inside of me, but I really feel a need and a want to bond with my clients, not just on a lawyer level, but just as a human being with them, so that they know that all the advice that I'm giving them is based out of my legal experience, my professional experience, and just being a mom. And then the other thing we try to do is make the steps small pieces so it doesn't seem overwhelming. And we also encourage our clients, as you walk through this, especially at the end, they need to go do something nice for them. And I always say, go get a margarita or a Dr. Pepper, or do something nice for yourself. You have to do that. Otherwise, you have to have some kind of reward. And then the other thing we try to do to make it fun in our office is to be able to, when you're talking with your family members about this succession plan, it can get very dark and very stressful quickly. So one of the things I like to do in kind of bookending on, I want to know about the kid, is telling them, well, don't ever give him Suave shampoo because he's going to break out in the hives, and maybe tell a funny story. I think bringing some of those family elements back into the estate planning and the financial planning practice is critical, so people feel that the weight of the planning is not so heavy and they can continue to do the planning.
Yes, and we hear from clients all the time once they've gone through the planning process of what a weight they feel off of their chest. Like, the big giant check mark on your long list of things that you want to get done. It feels great knowing that now you have a plan, and it's a matter of just working your plan, not I need to get a plan. And one thing that you've mentioned before, and we couldn't agree more, it's not about looking back. It's not about looking back or beating yourself up about what you haven't done. It's about getting started or taking the next step of what you've already started and moving that process along. And we believe that the sooner that people get started, the better, because you have a longer path to get to where you need to be. You have more working years, more earning years behind you. So, and I always say we can help people wherever they are. So whether you're in your mind, quote unquote, late to the party, or you've got a brand new diagnosis and you want to get started early, we can help you wherever you are on the journey. But we really do encourage people to get started sooner versus later, because it is a probability that you will get to where you want to be, that there will be enough money to fund that special needs trust and things like that. So in wrapping up, Christina, tell us, where should parents or our loved ones start with special needs planning? And, is there any, specific advice that you could give for them to get started?
Well, the first of all, something you've already mentioned is don't beat yourself up. And know that you're probably not as behind as you think you are. I have clients that come in, they're in their 60s or 70s, like, oh, we should have done this decades ago. I'm like, don't worry about it. We're going to be okay. We can fix this. That's what we're here for. So I would say just booking the appointment. And maybe that's all I'm going to recommend right now. Just book the appointment. And it doesn't matter if you book it with Allison first or with your estate planning, or you come see me first. We'll swap eventually. Just book the appointment and just go from there, and let the professional guide you through those steps that you need to be driven through, and know that it's not going to happen overnight, and that's okay. And definitely don't beat yourself up about it.
Christina, sometimes I think that sometimes they'll put off scheduling with an attorney because they have it in their mind that they have to know everything that they need or they want. If they have a kid with a disability that's turning 18, they must know if they need guardianship or partial guardianship or supported decision-making agreement. And we really like to encourage people and tell people that's not the case. Just know your kid. All you need to do is know your kid. The attorneys are trained to talk to you about what the different options are and walk you through each of those doors and what it would look like if you walked through those doors, and help you come to the place of understanding by giving you information to where you can make an informed decision of what might be best for said individual. Because I know a lot of people feel really overwhelmed with that guardianship process, or quote unquote taking rights away from a loved one and things like that. And it is a big deal, but I just want to say, you do not have to know anything. Just know your kid. That's it.
Kid. And that's the thing. You're the expert on your child. I'm not. So I need you to talk to me about your child and tell me everything that's going on with your family. And then my job is to kind of break it into pieces and say, okay, we have option 1, we have option 2, we have option 3. Think about it, what works best for you, and then we'll go forward. So
that sounds great. Christina, for people that want to schedule a consultation with you, can they schedule that right straight from your website, or could you provide us the office phone number? Provide it twice. People grabbing a pen.
Yeah. So we don't do online scheduling yet, just because we've been in an appeal process, and it's kind of a delicate process on our appointment times. But if they call 713-529-5900. So again, that's 713-529-5900. I've got a great team of people at my office. I hired away from Medicaid one of their top paralegals 11 years ago, and like Charlie's Angels, now she works for me. Most of the employees at our office, I would say, no, actually all of them have some connection to either an elder loved one or to the disability community from their family. And so that's why we get it. When someone's upset or someone's having a rough day or someone has a question or if there's a crisis, we get it. So yeah, but that's our number if someone wants to book an appointment with me.
For sure. I hope they will. You can book directly at consolidatedplanninggroup.com on our website. Book yourself. If you've attended any of our webinars in the past, you'll have an email from us as well that has a booking link. And so we are happy to schedule those consultations as well. So thank you so much, Christina,
Allison,
for being here today and sharing more about your firm. You guys are awesome. And so I'm happy to put this out there and share this with our community. Thanks so much.
Yeah, we feel the same way about you. Take care. Bye-bye.